Professor Igor Panarin says, looks like it's going to be civil war, and it looks like it might be starting in January. Our guest joining us today is Bob Chapman, who is editor of the International Forecaster newsletter, theinternationalforecaster.com. Thank you, Bob, for joining us again today.
Well, thank you for having me again, Joyce. And I'd like to make a comment about the raw milk, and that is that over 40 years ago, my son had problems digesting the cow's milk, and in its adulterated form, we'll call it. Mm-hmm. And so we started using, at first, goat's milk, which was not easy to get a hold of. And then from there we went into the untreated milk, and our children grew up on natural raw milk. And it was fortunate that we lived in Southern California because there were several dairies at the time that did produce it, and I think they still do, although I haven't lived there for some time. But anyway, I just thought I'd put my 2 cents worth in because our children turned out very, very healthy.
Well, and, just think about that. That's a crime you could have been arrested for, is buying raw milk. Think about that. That's a crime now? Anyway, we have gotten so far off the target of what is real in this country and what is appropriate and healthful. But anyway, I'm glad you're joining us today, and I just want to ask you, what do you think about this situation in which Igor Panarin now says that they believe that there is going to be a removal of our military overseas, bringing them back here to the United States, because there's going to be a civil war here when the people in this country find out that we have been bankrupted and it's been done by design?
Well, first of all, Mr. Panarin has had other things to say previously, such as he believes that the United States is going to split up into different regions and be taken over by Russia, China, etc. And I really don't see that happening. That's number one. Number two, to put a date on it in January is ridiculous. And, you've got to remember Russia is still hurting and smarting from their defeat as a Soviet Union as opposed to the Russia of today. And even though they've done relatively well because of the price of oil, they still harbor anxiety toward the United States. And so I don't think that we're going to see civil war in America. I think he's wrong, but what I do think is that, and if you read the International Forecaster, we received information about 2 weeks ago from highly placed bankers that the Federal Reserve, and these people are pipelined right into the Fed, and the first thing they said was that the Fed's going to try to withdraw money from the market, about $1.5 trillion. And I see they want to bring in the TARP funds, but the pressure from the Democratic constituency, we'll call it that, is that we have to have more money for unemployment and all those kinds of benefits, and because of what's going on in the economy. So to get that $400 or $500 billion they'd like to withdraw from the economy, they're not going to be able to do it, because a good part of it, I think, is going to go towards social issues. So they're not going to get their $1.5 trillion. And even if they pull the $1.5 trillion out, the economy will go into a tailspin. So they're going to continue to do what they're doing. Also, I was told, and this is very prophetic, inasmuch as the FDIC, the Fed thinks, will be out of business about this time next year. That's the agency that insures your accounts at the bank for $250,000 per account. On September the 18th, the United States government no longer insured nor guaranteed any of the money markets account. They ended that. Most people don't know it.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't think people are aware of that. Because
well, unless you read the International Forecaster, you're not going to find this stuff out. The federal government, 2 years ago, came in and said, this was during major crisis, that they were going to guarantee all money market accounts. They had not done that previously. In order to get the money out of the money market accounts and into treasuries, which they're having a hard time selling, they said, we're not going to guarantee that anymore. And the amount of money in money market accounts, about 2 months before that, it started to leave. It went from almost $4 trillion to $3.3 trillion. And most all of that money moved over to treasuries and agencies of Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, and FHA, into those bonds. Anyway, lo and behold, this last weekend, and it was in Saturday's edition of the International Forecaster, the Bank of America will no longer insure interest-bearing accounts.
Whoa.
So this is the beginning. They're bowing out. And you know why?
Oh, this is incredible news.
Listen to this. 252 banks are supposed to be in imminent danger. It's 2,035. They're lying about it. Over 2,000 banks are going to go under next year. The bill, the 2,035, close to $10 trillion. They don't want to pay. And I've been instructing the readers of the Forecaster to get their money out of banks, only have 3 months operating expenses for individual family, 6 months for a business, no, absolutely no CDs, no cash value life insurance policies, and I'll get to that in a minute, and annuities, because they're in the stock market. And I think the market's going to go down, and those cash values will fall because they're in the market in those insurance policies and annuities. The third thing I was told is that the Federal Reserve believes that there will be an official dollar devaluation between September and December of this coming year. No, this stuff is straight skinny. These are from important people who have an interest in telling the public, get out of harm's way. And so this is what's coming down the pike. And you people better listen, or you're going to lose what you've got. And you say, well, what do I do with my money? Gold and silver related assets, coins, bullions, shares. If you've got a lot of money, I got a letter this morning here from a lady who's a subscriber. I'm going to call her in a couple of hours. And she has wealth. She has gold and silver related assets, but she has cash in a money market fund. And I'm going to tell her to move that to Canadian and Swiss treasuries, because they will go up in value against the dollar. Although I still think that people should have almost all their assets in gold and silver related assets. And you can't be swayed by the swings in the market. You've got to buy and hold, awaiting gold and silver to reflect the problems that are with the dollar and other currencies as well. Because everything is going to go down in value versus gold in particular. And so that's the way to save your bacon. And as far as what printer is concerned, yes, it's coming. Not a civil war, a revolutionary war against the United States government. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I do programs with people who are directly and directed to the military. And I get emails from staff grade officers, Pentagon people, and they all know what's going on. And they are not going to act against the American public. I can tell you that right now. And so, yes, there will be a move against government. And if they try to bring in foreign troops, they'll be liquidated. The American public will kill them all. And they don't stand a chance, really. There's 450 million guns in the United States, 80 million veterans, 40 million have been in combat. I mean, would you, as a foreign nation, or any other military in an insurgency, want to try to take and capture people who are heavily armed, know how to use them, and they're fighting on their own turf? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, that's a thought that a lot of people have, and they want to believe that they could do that. Now the question of, are they going to try to disarm the American people?
Probably. There's a 50-50 chance of that. And what you've got to do is hide your weapons.